Hello, this is Mustafa, and this is my now fourth video for developers. In this one, we will get started for development for Honeybee. Uh, I assume you already watched the videos for Ladybug, so you know the basic stuff about the development. And now we're gonna get into Honeybee, which is a little bit more really like object-oriented programming, and the development is based on several uh, objects like honeybee zones, honeybee surfaces, and all that stuff. For this video, I what I'm going to do is I take a honeybee zone and I try to show you like how you can get access to different stuff in a honeybee zone, like different properties, and we will use some of the methods to generate a report. So I basically create a component that takes a honeybee zone and give a report. We don't have a good one already right here, right? We have one that gives you some stuff, some data, which is the default print of a zone, but I want to create one that gives you more stuff, like it gives you the area of the zone that we don't get from this one, for example. And through that, we will see how the development works. So it's very similar in a way in checking all the defense and all that stuff. It reads the Honeybee classes instead of the development for Honeybee instead of Ladybug, as it makes sense. And if you check the classes here, they are, as I said, it's just the development here is really like object oriented. The objects inherit from each other and all that stuff. In Ladybug, you had a bunch of classes which basically we're using like to cluster the functions, like to group them next to each other, so it's easier to find where is what. But in Honeybee, you really get object classes that are real, like Python objects that you have to deal with, and it's important to understand. Uh, like Usual people are fine using Ladybug and developing for Ladybug, but when it comes to Honeybee, if you haven't done any object-oriented programming, it takes you a while to understand like how these things work and how can I call something from somewhere without creating it. Or the function is not like this class doesn't have this method, but when I call the method, it's really there. Like where is the magic? So all this stuff is the cool things about object-oriented programming, and I mean, don't expect to for the first time when you do it, like you get it all. But after some time, if you just keep doing it, you will get it. It's not hard at all. And when you figure it out, it's really, really useful and powerful. So, okay. I just said all of that to say like there are so many things here that you should really go and check out. Again, like my suggestion is to start from the components and go back for it. I really love I can see like I really love to put some time and have a documented API so you can go there and check, okay, these are the available methods and what they do. We don't have that right now, and it's definitely on the list, and I kind of like I'm doing less development now, more documentation and help. At least this week I will do this. But API takes more than that. So you have to deal with this way of development for a while until we get a clean API. So you don't have to come and just really check one by one, uh, like to figure out how to develop. But again, like there are so many examples here, so you don't have really to start from here. Okay. Uh, let's get started. So I said I want to get a zone and then start getting all the stuff out of that. I won't go through the process of like checking the version and all that stuff because I already showed it in the other video for Ladybug. It's very similar, and you can check it in the components. Let's see if this one. So this one has nothing to do with Honeybee really. So probably it doesn't have anything, but let's check this one. As an example, this is the same, right? Very similar to Ladybug that I mentioned. The only difference here is like you need to put not only the compatibility version for Ladybug, excuse me, but also for Honeybee. So there are two lines of compatibility check. for this one. Here you will check for Honeybee relays instead of Ladybug relays. In some components, you're going to use both of the functionalities, both from Honeybee and Ladybug. So you have to check for both of them. Then here again, you check the version if it's compatible, and here is Honeybee relays instead of Ladybug. And from here, it starts to get a little bit weird, like how it works in Honeybee, but we will go over this together. And I selected these two components, which are the very simple components that we have, which to show you the process. So what I need right now is a Honeybee zone first. I'll go ahead. You usually, especially if you're developing for Honeybee, you don't want to start from scratch. You want to use from one of the components that we have, like get a zone, get like a Honeybee surface, something. In this example, we want just to get a zone and then print out like information out of the zone. So I bring a Python script again. I need Honeybee zones, and here I go with like a list of zones. So it will be Honeybee zones. It's a required input, and then I change the access to be a list. And for type hint, I put it on geometry base. It actually should be a BRAP, like how we pass the data between the components. We pass a BRAP which has an ID. We don't really add the zone, pass the zone between components, like the Python class, and we read it from something that we call Honeybee Hive. Okay, just keep this thing in mind. Yeah, and let's call this thing report. I'll talk about it more during in this video. So okay, so I have Honeybee zones, and then this is the terminal or print. I will print the data out. Again, what I will do, I'll just go ahead and copy the part on the top here from this component and modify it for my new component. So the name of this component is not by something. So is get report or detailed report. So detailed report. Honeybee zone report is a description. The input is Honeybee zones. Honeybee zones. And it returns nothing, actually, right? It returns the report in our, oh, I can't do it here. So I have one report output, and then I can call it or let's type it here, Honeybee zone. And here the name is Honeybee, let's call it report Honeybee zone. And as I said in the Ladybug videos, like you need this in the name, you need to start with Honeybee underline or Ladybug underline. And then report Honeybee zone. And the date today, okay, it's actually changed to 25th now. So and the compatibility versions, I just leave it to like older versions because it's not something new. And then where I want this thing end up, I don't think this one really I want it to end up anywhere, but just for the sake of this video, let's say 0. Let's put it next to Honeybee and question mark here. And that's it. And then I import a script context and UUID libraries that I will use later. And then I need to write a main function here. And I just type main and then Honeybee zones as my input, right? because this is the input that I have, which has an underline here. And then just to make sure I'm running it when there is some honeybee zone. Okay, let's not do it here like this. I just do it in a different way so you can see different methodologies. So I just pass it here, and if I press F5, now this changed the name. I have a list of honeybee zones. The descriptions are right, the date is right, and I change this into icon. I don't have an icon right now, which is fine. Okay, let's write the pseudocode. So what I want to do is check version, check compatibility, which I say I'm not gonna do in this video because you can watch it from the older video that I did for the Ladybug. You can just check how we do that. There are example files in the other files. So here I check the zones itself and then give a report. Okay, the first part is pretty easy, right? So when I run this, the first thing I want to check, I want to make sure there is a honeybee zone really there. So I check here and I say if honeybee zones is an empty list, which basically means or is actually is none, which means the person didn't connect anything here, just return, right? Because there is no zone, I just return. Otherwise, I need to get the zones and then iterate and print data for zones. So it may look funny that I have here get the zones because if I have the zones, it means like I already have them, right? But you will see that it's not that straightforward actually. Okay, now I have my component. Let's create some zone and load them here. So I just do a box for now, and let's say 10, 10, and 10. It's just like a real box. And then I use this component, sorry, to create it. Honeybee zone. So here the output is actually honeybee zones already, right? So what I can do, and you can see it, I mean it doesn't really matter, but for the ones who don't know Grasshopper randomize, so I have this box here, now it's a honeybee zone for me. So I just connect this here. The output, as you can see, it's one zone because I only had one box. What I can do is I can create another box by moving this zone up 10. So now I have two boxes here, and I can connect both of them here. So now I get two zones. And if you know, now because I have two zones, I need to solve adjacencies. So I just solve adjacency. I mean, for these ones, if you don't get it, what I'm doing here, watch the videos that Chris did on energy modeling. I will be doing like a list of videos for like tips and tricks with Honeybee, hopefully pretty soon. And then to cover this stuff about modeling. But right now, what we did basically up to here, I just created two zones. Nothing special, right? But as you can see, these are like closed B wraps, right? So if I come here and print them, for zone in underline honeybee zones, print zone, you will see it it's just a BRAP. And if I do, sorry, type of the zone, I mean, it says it's just BRAP. It has nothing, like, like it has nothing to do with Honeybee when you look at it. But the reality is this component, when you pass the stuff from Honeybee components, they do all this stuff, but they pass them. Okay, this is the process. They they just save them into the memory and they attach an ID to these geometries. So if you can access that ID, you can get the zone back. To do so, you don't really need to write your own code. So we have some methods that helps you do that. And the place that you can call the zones back called hive. So all the Honeybee objects are inside the hive. Yeah, I think that makes sense, at least to me. So you should call them back from the hive. We have functions that call the Honeybee objects from the hive and send them to the hive. So now I use this component as an example to show you how does it work. So this is the decompose zone component. As you can see, there are checks, first of all, and then it says call the objects from the hive. And how it does, it just creates an instance of Honeybee hive, which is inside the sticky. Again, like it's like what we did with Ladybug preparation. So I just have an instance of that class. And then here it adds them, like it asks them to come from the hive. It basically calls them from the Honeybee hive. And it returns a list. In this case, it just wants the first item, so that's why we have 0. But we need all of them. So let me just copy paste these two lines and do it here. So hopefully it will make more sense to you when I do it. So again, let's be cleaner. So as I said, I need to get the Honeybee zones. So this is for that I need to have an instance of Honeybee hive class. So I can call them from the hive, and it accepts a list. So I need to send a list to it, right? So it comes here, it gets the Honeybee hive, and it sends them. It basically sends that Honeybee zones, which are BRAP objects, to this function called from Honeybee hive, and it returns the zones which are real Honeybee zones. They are Honeybee objects. So I call them Honeybee zones again, and what I do, I just print them here before and print them after. So here I say before and Honeybee zones, and Control C, Control V, after. Okay, so I did print before and after, and I made a mistake here. That's why they look the same. And as you can see, it was a BRAP when I send it, but now it comes back. It's an EP zone. So this function takes a BRAP, which is a Honeybee object, all the outcomes, and it returns the zone, the real zone for me. And it's cool that I have now the zone, because I can have access to all the methods of that object, and I can start my development. I hope this part makes sense to you, because this is kind of critical, but at the same time it's pretty simple. Like, you don't really need to be worried about it. You just get your objects, you just send them, and it returns them as a list, as a new list. And these ones are real Honeybee zones. So I can say for Honeybee zone in Honeybee zones, now I start printing them. Print Honeybee zone. So you will see what will happen. And Honeybee zone has a method for printing. So it's a like it doesn't look like what you saw before, like object something. It really prints some data. So for example, it says only zone name, zone program, and number of surfaces, and for both zones. So now I want to get more report out of this, right? This is what this component is supposed to do. And let's agree on some of them that we want to do. Let's get the area, get the surface area, and what else I want. And let's print if this zone has any window in it. So that will be the full report that I want to give. So I say the name of the zone. It already returned program, but I don't want that. So I want to say what is the name of the zone, what is the surface area, and if this zone has any window or child surface. So to do so, I'll go ahead and check first the methods that are available for me. So I just comment this too, and I come here and I say from Honeybee zones, get the first item, and I print all the methods. So it's actually, I don't do it like this because I know the methods right backward, but if you don't, this is a way to get access to all of them, or you can open Honeybee, or check the code on GitHub, or check the example to see all the stuff that you have access. And again, in some cases, I use pretty print. So you can do pretty print this one. So it's easier to get. So you can see there are like fan efficiency, fan pressure, all this stuff. There are like add surface, add air side economizer, but these are not useful for me right now, right? I probably want some get. Oh, and there is so get floor area is here. Get floor area, get floor zone, get current loads, get current schedule. You can see there are like get zone volume, all this stuff that are useful. I was hoping there is a get surface area here too, but there is not get total surface area, but I have access to surfaces. Okay, that's good. Then I can get the surfaces probably, and from there I can get the area, I hope. And I have the name here, so I can access the name and print that. That looks good too. And seriously, I don't have get total surface area. I was thinking I do have that. That's why I said I want to do that. But it's okay. We just write it right now. It's actually better now. I have to write a little bit more code. So, okay. So based on this, it means if I go here. Oh, and actually there is one that checks if I have a child. So they're not sorted, I think. Or they are. They are sorted. So there is a has child. Oh, that's in the level of surface, I think. Okay. So we have to iterate through the surfaces. That's kind of cool. So you will see more. Now you see like why I really want to write an API. So I don't want users or new developers have to deal with all this stuff. So you will have access to this methods that makes your life easy, but we don't have them right now. So okay, let's get started. So what I need to do, let's go ahead first, and for every zone I just go and check if I can get the name, because I just saw there is a name here. That's name. And there was no get name, unfortunately. So there was no function, but there's a property. So I can say print honeybee zone.name, and okay, I have the name. That's cool. Let's check what was the surfaces. Okay, so if I print the surfaces, you can see it returns a list of surfaces, and every single surface is a EP zone surface, so it's already an object. So let's check and see what these surfaces have. So what I will do here, I just print the stuff for the first zone, right here. because I don't want to print it for both zones. I just put it here just for checking right now and getting the first one to go. And here what I do, I just again uh, print all the stuff available inside Honeybee surface, or EP surface as it was. So, oh, of course, I'm just doing the list. I printed the list. So, the first surface. Thank you. So, you can see there is add child surface, angle to nurse, base plane. Let's see if we get anything for the area. Okay, there is a get total area of the surface. So, this is what I want to use to get the total area. And you may think like, what does it mean to get total area? Because there's an area of the opaque area and there is a glazing area, which are separate. And total area gives you the area of the total surface. You can get wall to window ratio. There are different methods here, and there is a has child. Okay, so these are the two that I want to use then. Get total area and has child. So let's try and print them out and see if it works fine, and then I will access them in a more meaningful way. So I want to say for each zone, then I want to say for surface in all the surfaces, print surface dot has child, and also print surface get total area. And I know this one is a function, so I just let it go like this, and here we go. So zone 0, it says has child false, and the area is 100, 100, 100, 100, and yes, because I had a box, 100, 10, 10, 10, 10. But I mean, you can see the values are right. So let's go ahead and actually add a window to make it a little bit more interesting. So I just get this thing here. Or let's add even like to all the walls, like let's add windows. Ratio and set run to true. So now they should have windows. So if I connect it here, now okay, they have window, window, window. This one doesn't have window. This one doesn't have window, which is the roof and the floor, I guess. So we wanted this component to report two things: the total surface area of the zone, and if it has a child, or if it has a window. So I just make a boolean first here, and I says has child, and I assume it doesn't, and then I just say total surface area, and I set it to 0 for initial. So I have the name here, so I can actually collect the name and say name is this, and then I have to iterate for surfaces, and in case, and actually because I want to do it for multiple zones, I need to bring them inside the loop here, and I push them here, and this guy should go here. So for each zone, I assume it doesn't have a child, and total surface area is 0. And then if surface has a child, then has child should be true. And this is done. And for the areas, I need to get the total surface area, and I just add it to the total surface area that I have, right? So I say total surface area plus equal surface get total area, and then when I'm done, I can print zone plus name has total area, total surface area of plus a string of total surface area. And then what else I want to print? Okay, I want to, let's just keep it. I mean, this is not the best way of doing it. You want to write a conditional statement, but right now I want just to finish this before, and I don't want the video to get really long. So I just add a point here, and then I say, like, is zone has child surface. Please, you don't develop like this that I did, and write something more meaningful. Is equal to a string, the boolean has child, right? So now if I go ahead and print it, it should say zone 0 has total surface area of this, and actually it's cool if we just send it to the next line. It's easier to read, and then here add the zone name again. This is the most kind of meaningless thing right now we will see. It says zone 0 has total surface area of 600, zone 0 is zone has child surface is true. Okay, I mean, but you get the concept. And now if I go ahead and remove this, the listing, you will see that it will print this report for all the zones. So hopefully you get the concept of what happened here. I got all the zones. Because of that, I had access to the zones, and I could get access to, in the zone level, to the properties like zone name, and I could access to the stuff in the surface level. And that's what happens in all in other components. If you check, for example, I just used the set construction. I think this is a good example. What happens in set construction is it takes the zone here, and it goes through every zone, and it uses another class that we have for EP object auxiliary. And here it checks, and it says if surface first of all has a child, in every child surface it checks, and it says if there is a new construction, then assign the construction to that surface, right? It says Honeybee that assign construction to this surface, and send the construction there. And when it's done, similar to what we had like called from Honeybee Live Hive, you cannot send out these objects that we got to the next component. You can, but they are not going to look good. And actually, you cannot technically, because then call from Honeybee Hive won't work. So what you need to do before sending them as an output is you need to send them back to Honeybee Hive, which this function does, which called add to Honeybee Hive. And what add to Honeybee Hive does is the reverse of what call from Honeybee Hive does. So you just send the Honeybee objects, which in this case are real Python objects, and it will return some B-wraps that has the data basically attached to it. So in the next component, you can use again call from Honeybee Hive and get them back. And you can see I'm stressed here because of the time. I want to finish it as soon as possible. I hope this video get you started with the process. Definitely, it's not that easy when you start this stuff, but let us know if you have any questions, or definitely getting some feedback on these videos are helpful if I'm going so fast, if I'm talking about so much details, or I or I don't know. Like I'll try to give you as much as details as needed, but not so much because then the videos takes like 3 hours each. But I hope this thing is kind of enough to understand the process and how we are doing the development with Honeybee and kind of get you started at least. Thanks for watching.